We're back. Of course, we had to be back.
Once
Welcome to
again.
another again, and welcome to another edition of Get Found
And be seen.
and Be Seen with co-host Carl Aline and Monty Armstrong.
Here we
With
are.
another edition, another strong episode. And Monty, I'm fired up about today's topic. Overthinking, the silent killer of confidence. What a great what a great title. I love it. Man,
It's
very creative.
interesting to focus right on into that because really overthinking can be the silent killer of a lot of things.
True. Isn't that true?
But let's we could talk all day long because of all the different things. So we'll just kind of not overthink it, package it up onto how it kills confidence.
Concise. Yes, indeed, Monty. Yes, indeed. Man, overthinking, and it's funny. I'll say this too. This is from my book, actually, the first chapter, and honestly, this is one of my favorite chapters. And maybe we can start with this defining what is a definition of overthinking. What do you think about when you think about overthinking? How about that?
Well, that was that thing of the silent killer of a lot of different things. So overthinking, I think of rabbit holes. That's what I think about overthinking is that, I'm going down and since I'm overthinking, I'm going way off course. I mean, there's a lot of different ways of describing it, but there's one thing I think about overthinking is because I've thought so much. Now I'm off on a random track or a side track or off track.
Racetrack, train track.
Well, train track's okay if I'm on my way to my destination. That's when the train goes off track. Things go south fast.
Things go south. Well, if you're supposed to go south, you go north. That's a problem right there. Big problem.
Just abruptly stopping is probably the problem also.
True.
It's not the speed that kills you. It's the sudden stop.
The sudden stop. But perhaps we're overthinking, Monty. Who knows? I don't know.
We could be.
We got to be careful with this topic. We might go too crazy with it. It's easy. It's interesting. Yeah, overthinking. I think about just you're in a moment, you're in a mode, you're delivering something, whether it's to your audience, whether it's you want to get content out for something on camera on LinkedIn or Facebook or one of the other social media platforms, and you just can't get yourself there because you're thinking too much about all the things that can take place, and all these different thoughts start to unravel, and then all of a sudden you don't go anywhere. And so you mentioned
you don't have all of your ducks in a row.
Don't have all your ducks in a row. Yeah, you might be thinking that too. And sometimes for a lot of people, they're super skilled, super ready, but they're thinking they don't have all their ducks in a row, and so they don't do anything. So it's interesting.
They are constantly looking for the perfection. They might have them all in a row. Oh, this one I could line it up a little bit better. Oh, this one's not quite the same shade of yellow. I need to swap that out.
Right. Instead of focusing on the creativity that you already have and what the value you already have to give to someone. You have that ability, but you get stuck. So yeah, this is an important topic, Monty. And I know a lot of people can have that struggle. I know for me, sometimes I had that struggle with it.
I have a very analytical mind, and so I easily overthink things. Now, if you are, constructing a bridge or something, that it's probably better to overthink things a little bit. But there are other things that, why is it a mistake to overthink? What are the repercussions? What's going to happen? Well, you're not going to take action. That's the biggest thing about overthinking, is because that if you're thinking, you're not doing.
Right. That's true. It's interesting too. Like I love the fact that you said that. You could pause, you could stall, you could freeze. You don't take action, and also sometimes one of the hard things too. I noticed too with just even being a coach with helping people on camera and even the whole performance aspect. Sometimes you could kind of ease into something, which is not bad, but you don't go at your fullest potential, and then at the end of that presentation or whatever, you have regret because you were so busy overthinking while you were going. You didn't get a chance to unleash.
Which is interesting and ironic that you would be overthinking at the end about the presentation you just gave.
Right.
I should have done it
Right.
differently. It didn't solve anything.
Right. And as opposed to enjoying the moment. Enjoying the moment and say, you know what? I just created something. Wow. Fantastic. That really builds much more momentum when you deliver.
Yes, I agree. Doing. Not without thinking.
Right.
There's a balance. We don't want to pendulum swing from one side of always thinking and not doing to always doing and not thinking.
Right.
Somewhere in the
Right.
middle there, we've got the right amount of stuffs to make it all happen.
Right. And that balance, what you talked about, I like to call it sometimes your flow. You get into that flow. You're able to think because you got to strategize. And it's funny, because I also work with singers too. When I work with the singers, I'm like, you're constantly making choices. It's the same thing as speaking, except you're just public speaking with melody and rhythm and snaps and movement sometimes.
Well,
although I put it all together.
Specific movements and things. You have movement anyway.
Right.
That's a different chapter of your book, though. So let's hang on. Let's not overthink this.
Let's not overthink it. Right. But it's important to understand that you are strategizing, you are thinking, but you're not overthinking. So the word you use, balance, is the perfect word, because once you can find that balance, you're able to get into a flow, and then you get more used to it.
I like it as a recipe.
Recipe. Tell me more.
The right mixture of things in the right way. Do I bake it? Do I fry it? Do I saute it?
Deep fry it.
Oh, now I'm getting hungry.
Right? Man. But it's important.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the common reasons why people end up overthinking.
Yeah.
What's your personal experience? What thing triggers you to overthink that, especially, and how do you know that? Well, the times that you say, gosh, I've been overthinking this. What caused that overthinking to happen?
Right. And for me specifically, well, that's a question for the audience and for me.
Well, for both. You're the proxy for the audience. So I'm asking you directly so you can give your story on that take.
Mm-hmm. So I think some of the reasons are, there's a lack of focus. And that's a generic way of, it's a generic phrase, but it's so important. Like I mentioned too, you got to have a strategy. A strategy is important. And then it's kind of like our bodies. We do certain things and we have to trust our bodies. Walking. We don't want to overthink. Just walk. But you have a strategy to walk. So it's the same thing if I'm doing like public speaking, or if I want to do something on camera, for example. Here's an example. I could create a little script if I want. And I don't have to follow the script, but I can know the body in which I'm going to speak it and deliver it. I could talk to myself and say, okay, I know I need to breathe. I know I need to take my time, and I know I need to have a conversation, and then trust that process. But if I don't, I'm not focused. So that in that context, that's what I mean by focus. lack of focus.
And trust in yourself. That's great. I like what you said there, that focus. Lack of trust in yourself leads to lack of focus, being the side effect of overthinking. Because you didn't trust yourself, you're overthinking. Because you're overthinking, you're not focused.
Right.
That could be a vicious little cycle right there.
Oh, totally. Totally. You know, it's a small little thingy, but people can get trapped in it all the time. And it's normal and it's okay. You know, and then but if you're mindful of it, you have that self-awareness of it, you can do something about it. But it's
I
very
think for
common.
me, it's the saying, it's like nothing's perfect. There's always a better way.
Right.
And I'm a troubleshooter. I'm in diagnostics. I'm always looking for solutions to things. And the way I go about looking for them sometimes is unorthodox. It's how can I accomplish that goal in another way then? Is if this obstacle is going to take this much effort to overcome, well, is there another way that I can accomplish the goal with less effort? It might not have been the original way of doing it. So then, well, I found a way of doing it. Great. Is there a better way? Here's another way. Is it better? Nah. Here's another way. Is it better? Yeah. Okay. Now, is there a better way? Yeah. Oh, is there a better way? No. Is there a better way? Is there a better way? Is there a better way? Oh my goodness. That's the evil cycle I get caught up in, is that there's potentially another way. There's always different ways.
Right.
And then it comes down to, well, is this better? Situationally, it might be better for this or that. And then you got to be thinking about all these different things.
Right.
It's a point of that balance, that recipe. Have I found a way that meets my criteria? Is there a better way? Doesn't matter. I met my criteria.
Right. That's true. And if anything, you know, I love that journey you talk about, Monty, and I love your background. And I feel like that's why we complement each other so much. I come from the opposite direction, you know, where, okay, well, being in the entertainment industry, you go to audition and it's all about how you deliver. And also, if whether people took a lunch break or not, depending on whether you might get the gig. That's another story, though. I'm overthinking. You know, but so for someone like me, a goal I have is to just work on my presentation and know that I have different options and I hope I have different tools in my pocket and I could pick which one. You know, sometimes I could become too loose with it and say, oh, it's too loose. Or I'm focused on the execution and I'm not just focusing on being in flow and having fun with it. And then I can miss my whole experience. It's kind of parallel to you, but it's coming from a different direction.
It is.
You know?
It is, because I'm looking at, here's this question, here's this problem. Let me invest some time into looking for patterns and doing these things. Whereas I'm in front of these people and they've just asked me to do something. I have a finite amount of time to do that thing. So I can't say, well, I could do it like this, or I could do it like this, or would you like me to do it like this or like this? Or it's like, yep, you're done. You know, so
thank you.
The overthinking happens on the fly. More of what you're talking about there, because they ask you, you know, do this thing. Okay. And you gotta start doing it. But then, like you said, in the delivery of the thing, and am I doing it like this too much? Am I doing that too much? Oh, better speak louder. Oh, I gotta slow down. Oh, there's just the different format. Just very interesting. I do. When you said it comes from two different angles, it was like, wow, does it ever?
Right. And even in the midst of that experience that I have, it's an opportunity to grow and to have the toolbox, and where I'll execute from instinct, which is important, because the more I learn how to operate from instinct, based off of my knowledge, based off of my skill, the faster I grow. But if I get so stuck in that moment, I miss out on my growth opportunity because I'm so freaked out or focused on, oh, this star is in the room or that person's in the room, or, so I can miss it. And that's where I can get stuck. I can lose my focus.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I can see that how yours
Yeah.
ties onto focus, a lot about the focus.
Right.
And for me, it's being too focused. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe by looking for so many different solutions, I'm not focused enough on the one that meets the criteria the quickest.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting self-awareness analysis right there, where one could be thinking it's one thing, but then again, with another person's point of view, if you can step over there and get that point of view and say, oh, wow, there's another angle on what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, what I'm seeing, what I'm doing. Right. Does that mean I need to change what I'm doing? Not necessarily, but it's great to have that other perspective, because it can either validate or support or refute.
Right.
Which gets you thinking sometimes.
Yes, indeed.
But
yes, indeed.
You don't want to overthink.
Don't want to overthink. And here's another thing, Monty. I think about fear of mistakes, which I mean, it's it's kind of like the other one we talked about. Or nervous. Let me back up. Nervous delivery. Being nervous in my delivery. Woo wee. Can you relate to that one?
Oh yeah.
Being nervous in your delivery.
I was going to say, I think that you can see my progression through the podcasts and see that, oh, when you're first starting out, you're going to be nervous.
Right.
Even when you say, I'm not nervous, there's just certain things that kind of stand out more.
Right. It's funny. I think about nervousness and then the zone I'm in. It's funny being in the prime with the kids. I don't, I think about nervousness, but also something I attach to it, which can have a little bit of nervousness, is exhaustion. That's a big deal though, because it affects your mental. And it could affect how you show up. And I've been in experiences where people can look at that, whether it is or not. A lot of times it's not, but sometimes people can look at it as a nervous expression. And it's not. I'm just exhausted. And I'm navigating through it, and I'm figuring out how to do it. So for me, that's, having 5 kids, it's like that definitely tacks on to that. I think about that when I think about nervousness. Because even whether I feel it or not, it could be perceived that way.
Yeah, the perceived part is the part you can't control.
True.
You can try and be self-aware and help affect it, but you're not actually in control of it because it's somebody else's filters, and you can't control that part. So all you can do is the best that you can do.
Right. Now, here's a funny thing about it, because now this is it's on topic, but there are ways you can control it as far as perception, and those are tools that I like to give out as well when I'm coaching. For example, giving more charisma or breathing more. But sometimes if you're not careful, you're too exhausted, you may not be thinking about that.
So, right, because that takes strategy, that takes thought process to intentfully deliver. Because again, the part you can't change is their filters. All you can change is what you are presenting to see if you can bypass or affect or move around or something with their filters.
Right. So you can't control how they think, but as far
as part of reading your audience, but that's another chapter in your book, and we don't want to overthink this. Let's get back to the right point here.
That's right. Here we go. So, but yeah, so for me, that's what it is, That's for me, it could be that could be tagged on. So there could be people out there who could struggle with that as well. But nervous delivery, that's normal.
Right. And that also can be affected by the medium, the audience that you are in front of, if it's unfamiliar. So
Right.
for me, I would be experiencing much more nervousness if I was in front of a live audience that was much larger than I've ever been in front of before.
Yeah. Makes
And I
sense.
think if
Normal.
I was potentially in a podcast with a big name celebrity, I might have more nervousness. I might have more overthinking involved. That's an interesting relationship. Would be a great topic sometime, of that overthinking and focus, and overthinking and nervousness, and some of those other relationships there.
Yeah. I love it. No, that's great.
That
That's
comes
fantastic.
to self-awareness. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what the topic would be for another time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's good stuff, man. But some common reasons. Let's talk about some common reasons that coaches can overthink. But before we do, Monty, do you mind if I give a plug? I want to give a plug about our workshop that we're doing. We have coming up.
A workshop?
A workshop we have coming up. Not just coming up, it's coming up this week.
Oh my
This
goodness.
week.
I better get prepared.
I hope you do. I hope I do too.
Yes, on Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
3 p.m. Eastern time.
That's right.
There it is.
There it is. Bam. Identify your imposter and solve your syndrome. Our workshop. 3 p.m.
Because imposter syndrome is definitely related to overthinking.
Right. It's in there. In the family, at the same dinner table, at the same time, eating the same meal.
But it's like those in-laws that you wish weren't there.
Why? Whoa. No offense, y'all. But hey.
Oh, I have in-laws that I
reality.
love, so it's not that all in-laws fit in that. It's just that, I mean,
True.
and so it doesn't have to be in-laws. It's that the family member that you wish wasn't there.
True. Or it might be. That's true though. Family member you wish wasn't there. But yeah, check out this workshop, guys. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be dissecting all of this stuff in this workshop, and you will walk away with some value. We definitely guarantee that. So check it on out. Back to the program.
Back to the program, which is related. That was the great thing about it, is that we were just talking about those things that are related, and that's one of them. So we'll dive into that one in some serious depth on Wednesday. And then
yes,
we already kind of you spoke about the fear of mistakes, and I talked about the unfamiliarity, so and which those really tie into the performance anxiety.
Right. And it's so nuanced. I mean, all those can be broken down, I mean, we don't have to spend the rest of this podcast time on it, but they all could be broken down because it's a journey, and they're all nuanced together, but you can unpack them separately.
And that comes in that, why do people overthink? What are the triggers?
Yeah.
And there's that, it's the unfamiliarity.
I did the same thing too.
Fear of mistakes. Like if I had really been afraid of mispronouncing that, I could have really stumbled on it there.
Right. Do what I do, sing it.
The performance anxiety, just the people are going to critique me. I'm going to get judged.
Right.
So there's a lot, and the list could go on. There's all sorts of situations that suddenly trigger that okay, I gotta do this thing. What I gotta prepare, or I gotta defend, I gotta plan, I gotta reorganize, restructure. all these things I gotta do.
Right.
It makes me think about doing my bills. I gotta
Mm.
check on this credit card, and I gotta look at the bank, and I gotta go to the auto pay, and I gotta check the insurance, and I gotta check. Oh my goodness.
All the steps
All those
you
steps.
have to take.
No, that I instill on myself and think I have to take because I'm
Mm.
overthinking it. Because the
Right.
insurance is on auto pay, and a lot of these things are on the credit card, so
Right.
it's no big. It's once again, it's automatic. It automatically
Hmm.
charges. I don't need to do anything.
Right.
I'm just someone who overthinks. It's like I need to check on it. I need to make sure it
Right.
happened.
Right. That's what I mean. You get
So
that thought of I have to. You really don't. If you have it
right,
set up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
here's just a little self-awareness, live, raw on the show,
Hmm.
that we were talking about this topic, and then I'm like, oh, well, that makes me think about myself and my personal life.
All
So
right.
without going too far off track and overthinking it, it's just
Hmm.
interesting that it does encompass a lot of our lives. It's our mode of operation.
Right.
So I don't think actually you can extract it out and say, oh, well, over here I don't I guess maybe by practicing. Over here I don't overthink because I'm comfortable. Over
Right.
here I'm comfortable and therefore I overthink. Potentially.
Right.
I'm trying to hopefully go for if I can just create a framework for myself of how I approach things, that'll help me in personal and business and situational.
Right. And we
Frameworks.
will be talking about those frameworks this Wednesday. That's right.
Frameworks are powerful.
Are powerful. That's right. Let's talk about the consequences of overthinking. Like, what are the consequences?
Well, we
And
we we kind of touched base on a lot of those things about how we were
Mhm,
feeling and why we came to there to begin with,
mhm.
but specifically to focus in, you're muddling your message
Right.
when you're overthinking, because then you're in this scenario of my personal experience. By saying, oh, I need to give them all this information. I need to tell them this, and I need to tell them this, and I need to tell them this, and I need to tell them this. And maybe they'll want to know about this thing. And that is the key. Maybe this, maybe that. Oh, that's a good indicator that I'm overthinking.
Right. And that's true. That's definitely common. And it's easy because just because you're not secure that you're giving them what they need. Where some people they just want a simple result to get unstuck, but you're gonna give them the whole kitchen sink
Well,
and the
there's
water.
the thing. It's like they need the next step. And then I'm worried about, well, there's a little bit of ice, so it might be slippery. Oh, well, you're wearing Birkenstocks. Oh, well, there's water underneath here. Oh God, the wind's blowing from the north. Careful when you step.
Right, right. So
So
true.
there's the overthinking. It's like they're never gonna. I can't help them take the step because I'm cautioning them to do all this stuff. Or it's me. I need to take the step, but I'm trying to be cautious. I don't want
Right,
to. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to misstep.
right. And I could definitely
Now, if it's
identify
over
with that.
Niagara Falls, that might be really, really important.
Very important. Each step, each move.
Every move. But if
Right,
it's just I need to get this project going. I need to do this thing. I need to give this webinar on Wednesday. I could
right.
easily overthink that one.
Yeah,
There's a lot of steps to that.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And then also I think about loss of connection. That ties in with it. You can in that people could lose connection if there's a lack of clarity. And there are ways you could even combat that, just in case, even if you do, you could even get back on track. There are ways you can do it. But sometimes that could be a consequence.
It leads into it there, really. If your messages start getting muddled, then there is less connection happening. less resonation happening. People aren't feeling it.
Right.
Or because you're overthinking in my case, and I've given too many options. There
Yeah.
leads back into the I'm troubleshooting and trying to find out other options. And there would be the thing. If I came to a client, they said, hey, I need to accomplish this goal. My website needs to do this thing, and this needs to happen. It's like, okay, great. Here's the 12 ways we can make that happen. Okay, Monty, which is the best one? Oh, I didn't need to think about all of that stuff. I could have really just narrowed it down and grabbed the one that met that criteria, and I could have ran with it, and we would have been done.
That's right. Yeah. No, totally makes sense. But sometimes you could, we could even look and compare ourselves with other people on social media or other platforms, other mediums, and think, well, they're doing this, so I need to do this, as opposed to just asking the people in front of you, what do you need and how can I serve you? That's the easy
I think
one.
that lies in there to the ending thought on that topic, that once you have a loss of connection and once you are being muddled, then your credibility, you're eroding your credibility away.
That's right. And Monty, you alluded to this earlier. You mentioned personal credibility. Remember that?
Sure.
And I I say that because I tend to want to say that first, because your personal credibility is most important. Who cares what other people think? If you're intact with your personal credibility, know your core and where you want to go, that's very important. Now, your credibility with your potential customers or your audience, that's important as well. But erosion of credibility, that can take bloom. What we talked about earlier, that has to deal with your personal credibility in a lot of ways. But with your credibility with other people, that is important as well. But I wanted to stress that for sure.
Right. No, that's a great distinction. That's a great distinction, because essentially what you are describing, if you are eroding your personal credibility, yourself, how you feel about yourself, that's
right.
Another form or another description for imposter syndrome.
True.
You're questioning if you're good enough to be where you're at.
Right.
So there's a interesting, once again, relationship on all these different things, where it's not, hey, I have this one thought process that's a problem, or this other thought process that's a problem. It's I have a cycle of thought processes that are causing a problem or series of problems, and I'm not going to be able to solve the series of problems by addressing one point. I need to look at the whole journey, the whole cycle.
Right. Yes. Wow, I'm so happy you said that, because that in and of itself is a journey. That's it's important to get to be trained, if you need to be trained to do that.
And that's it's a continuous journey too. It's not right. One of those destinational journeys that, oh, now I've accomplished the goal and I'll move onwards. Because it's your mode of operation. So that's a transit. That's a cycle. You're doing that over and over, and maybe you change the route that you take, but it's a mode of operation. So you're going to continue to use it. And if you can identify, hey, every time I go down this road, I hit that big pothole. Well, why don't I just turn a block sooner and take a different road, and I'll get there smoother.
Right.
But if you hadn't been traveling down the road in the first place, you wouldn't have known to do that.
That's right. And I like to say that's your personal transformation. That journey is your transformation. Absolutely. And that's the most important thing, in my opinion. So I love that you said that. That is an absolute. And yes. And so again, we want to remind you, hey, check out our workshop. We're going to talk about that. And you may walk away from this thinking, you know what? I'm a little familiar with this, and then you may end up experiencing this imposter syndrome after this workshop or after this podcast, or you might have been thinking about it all along. You may be in. We're talking to different people in different places. No matter where you're at, this workshop would be for you.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned that, where because now we've been talking about it, that maybe now you're going to start having them, but it's not actually the way it works. It's that you start noticing that they're there. So I've talking with our friend Anza and came up with the description. I just saw a new car. This are new to me. Look at this car. I've never seen one of these before. This looks so cool. I love this car. I'm going to buy this car. So you buy the car and you drive home, and on the way home, you see 12 more of them.
Right.
Now, it's not that because you bought the car, suddenly there's 12 more on the road. It's that you are now attuned to it. So now you're being aware. So that's really powerful. I wanted to point that out, that if you listen to this and then you're watching this and then you go, wow, I'm starting to have some of that stuff they're talking about. I feel like that. And Carl described that. That was how I felt this other time. That's just being aware. And that's just saying, hey, the workshop's for you.
It's for you.
So in the workshop, we're going to talk specifically about ways to combat imposter syndrome, but really it could help with overthinking, since overthinking and imposter syndrome are linked.
Right.
So we're going to be talking about things that you can do. Let's really quick, before we wrap up the show, talk about things that people try or are misguided with. You get all kinds of suggestions, especially from family members, on how to handle things that don't work. And or that's what people use as the mechanism, and it's not working.
Right. Yeah.
So what is your, I don't want to say favorite, because
my favorite one,
undesirable thing. So what is the most prominent? What is the one that you see or you like to help demystify or debunk?
Well, there's not one particular one that stands out to me because they're all important, but definitely I think about when people say, just be yourself. Just be you. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some truth to that. Just be yourself, but you don't want to ignore the fact that you need training. We all need training. We all need to continue to develop our skill sets, especially if you want to present something on a certain platform in a certain manner. It's not just, hey, just be yourself. Yeah, you want to be authentically you, but what does that mean? You want to be able to unpack that and get the training you need if you need training. So that's the way I demystify that. You know, there's more to it than, I wouldn't just say that to someone. You know, it's like
There's 2 points on that you sparked by saying that. And the first one is, just be you. Well, situational you. So, I mean, because there's not just one you that is you across the board. At the very least, there's you in the emergency room with a loved one versus you at the arcade having a soda. So how many other situational yous that's in question? But the point being is that that's such a generic statement that it's not helpful in a time of crisis. It's helpful for self-awareness and reflection. But because the second point of that is that the reason you're in the situation is that you're questioning yourself.
Right.
So being yourself isn't helping if you're questioning it.
Right.
So that's true. That advice, again, in a time of crisis, is counterproductive, or nothing at best.
Right. Facts. True. And that's important. Only time I would say something like that is if I give a quick Twitter, a quick tweet, or a quick LinkedIn post that's super short, but there's more to my message. But I wouldn't say that to someone I'm coaching. It's not going to help and steer them the right way. It's like me saying, hey, I've been performing for 37 years and just get out there and sing. You'll be okay. Be yourself. Ta-da. No, you will not do that. And if someone tells you to do that, run.
That's again. That's like hey, I got a race in the Indy 500. It's like, all right, just get out there and drive like normal.
Exactly.
That's not very good advice. Well, it depends on the person. I mean, for some people, that might be great advice.
If they've done it, I know I'm not getting out there. Thank you. Next person.
If driving like normal is like driving on the Indy 500, then that's a scary thought. Anyway, let's not overthink that. It goes in the wrong direction.
Right. Rabbit hole.
But the other one, they all, just be yourself. But the other one is just imagine everyone in their underwear.
Yeah.
Well, that's not distracting.
Right.
How is that helping me focus on the right thing?
Right.
Well, it's okay. So it is funny. I'd still distract. Now I'm laughing or giggling, or I'm thinking about the thing that's making it funny, not about what I'm supposed to be doing, and there's merit to well, you're not thinking about the thing that's stressing you out. Right. But I'm also not thinking about the thing I'm supposed to be doing, which is delivering a message.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I really dislike about that one, is that it's distracting in any way, shape, or form. It could even make someone really uncomfortable.
Right. Especially if it's not my personality.
That's the point. And so therefore they're probably not actually going to do it if they were given that advice. But therefore that's why they're not going to do it. Because like I'd be uncomfortable. It's like if I'm imagining everyone in the room is in their underwear, so am I. Now I'm really uncomfortable. It's like I didn't mean for that to happen, but I told my imagination, imagine everybody in the room's in their underwear. It's like, oh man, I'm in the room. My subconscious just applied that factor to me too. Now I'm super uncomfortable. And I definitely, what was my talk about?
In my overthinking.
Yeah. Now it's definitely into the overthinking part.
Right. And another one is ignore your feelings. Don't worry about how you feel. Just be tough and do it. No, that don't work for everyone. I think if anything, even for me, when I'm coaching people, I'm like, you need to be aware of your feelings, because you're engaging emotion. So you got to think about your emotion. You got to think about your feelings. You got to channel them in the right way, the right direction. And okay, let's figure out how to do that. Let's learn how to do that.
Just the first word of that alone is a red flag for any kind of situation. Ignoring anything, because it's all data. Now, how much thought process goes into it is adjustable. But flat out ignoring something, postponing when you think about it. Now I'm going too deep. Now we're going too far. Save that for Wednesday.
I like that, postponing though.
Yeah. No. I'll talk about that rather than going into that. That's a Wednesday thing. Like that is a way to take care of stuff that other people are saying you should ignore, and it's like I can't ignore it. It's too much in my face, and you shouldn't ignore it. So there's mechanisms on what you can do to help with that.
Yes, indeed, Monty. Some good points today.
Indeed. Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up and say Wednesday, we're going to dive into that. There's a bunch of other things too, and they all tie together too. That's one kind of the interesting part. Even if nothing else, just exploring how emotions and feelings and our modes of operations and how other people's modes of operations are in the same cycle, but they're different. They're coming in from different angles, and that can help us just be aware of ourselves and how we can do things differently. And also, hey, that guy does things differently. That gal does things differently. Just because I do it this way doesn't mean that they have to do it that way.
Right. I love that exploration, man. I love it. When is it again?
Wednesday, the 18th of December, 2024.
That's right.
3 p.m. Eastern time. That's noon for us Pacific Coastal folks.
Love it.
And we'll spend, about an hour, a little less, because we want to have some time for other people to jump in. Well, I mean, they'll be part of the hour. That's the great part. Rather than, I think traditionally it's usually let's speak at you and then you can present some questions at the end. And I think it's better in this situation to say, hey, we want everybody to engage and interact at the level that they're comfortable at. So if that is just hanging out in the back of the room and absorbing the information, great, jump in and absorb away. But if you also want to pipe up and say, oh, the other day I was feeling that exact thing, and share that with us real quick, that's awesome.
That's right. Absolutely. Marley says, sometimes keep your mood in good shape to deal in a good way, to deal in that situation, to have a good answer. Okay, Marie. Yes.
I like that. I could go deep. You could go a lot with that. I think about keep your mood in good shape. You got to exercise your mood.
Exercise your mood. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Thanks
We're
for
gonna
that comment,
tuck that
Marie.
away for a little topic maybe sometime, huh?
Yeah, Marie, I like that. Love it. Cool. Yeah, Monty.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you for sharing.
Good stuff.
Hope you share some more. Pop in on that webinar if you got time. It'd be awesome.
Hop in if you can. And the link, just in case, the link is in the comment area as well. So
perfect.
And if you have questions, comment imposter syndrome, and we'll get information to you if you have any questions.
Please do.
So good stuff, Monty. Should we keep it simple?
Keeping it simple. Boy, everyone is at risk of overthinking at one time or another. Some people, like myself, are risking it often.
Yeah.
So we need special attention and self-awareness to it. I think that's the key to keeping it simple. Be self-aware. Hey, that's one of our other podcasts.
Yeah, I like that. Keep it simple. Be self-aware. I don't think I have anything to add to that. That was well put. Be self-aware. I only say, yep, and everyone to some degree struggles with imposter syndrome. And it's okay. Get the tools. Tools are out there.
When we got some.
And we got some. That's right.
Yep. We curated them together, said, hey, this is how we take care of it.
That is right, my friend.
Here
Wednesday,
you go.
Take it.
We want to give it to you.
Take it. Should we show one more time? One more time. Wednesday. One more time. Wednesday. 3 p.m.
Oh, this is when it's at. You have to get that. Where it's at's in the link. Registration link in the comments. Or just comment if you're not finding it for whatever reason. Maybe it's in one of the other streams from one of the other connections and it's not in the comments. So then just comment in that stream and we will respond.
We will respond. Good way to put, that's not overthinking. That's overthinking in a good way because it's technology.
Oh boy. We don't want to go there. We're going to really overthink and squirrel off in rabbit holes and all kinds of stuff.
Rabbit holes and carrots and all that good stuff. I thought I saw a wabbit. Anyway, you've been watching another edition of Get Found
and Be Seen.
And we will talk to you later. Peace out.
Hopefully on Wednesday.
Balloons party.
Get